Okay, let's dig into this. It seems like, well, for as long as people have been looking up or looking in, we've been wrestling with this huge question. What is all this?
Hmm.
What's the essence of being?
Right, where do we come from? What's the nature of reality itself?
And what's just fascinating, isn't it, is how different cultures, different times, seem to arrive at, well, something similar. They touch this same deep mystery, even using completely different words.
It really is striking. It suggests maybe there are these fundamental truths that we can all access, just expressed through our own cultural filters.
Exactly. And that's really what this deep dive is about, exploring that feeling of one mystery wearing many masks. We're looking at a specific piece of source material today that focuses on four really potent concepts: logos, Atman, the phrase I am,
Hmm.
and consciousness.
Yeah, and logos. Many people listening probably think immediately of the Bible, the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word.
Hmm.
But the source material, it goes much, much deeper. It looks at where logos came from before that and how it links up with these other big spiritual ideas.
Okay, so our goal here isn't just like dictionary definitions. We want to guide you through this text so you can see how these ideas talk to each other, how they might be, as the source says, four windows into one light.
Offering maybe a shortcut to grasping these pretty complex concepts and seeing how they connect in surprising ways.
Yeah, getting the core ideas without wading through stacks of philosophy.
Exactly.
So let's start where the source does, guys. Acknowledging this quest for meaning, for the essence of being, it's ancient. Thinkers across millennia asking the same things.
And the text really emphasizes that they often landed on remarkably similar insights, even with totally different language toolkits.
It's a good reminder, isn't it, that the core questions, maybe even the core answers about reality, seem to persist across time and place.
Definitely.
So that brings us to the first big concept: logos. We mentioned John's Gospel, but the source takes us back first to ancient Greece. Heraclitus, what's the idea there?
Well, the material explains that for Heraclitus, logos wasn't just a spoken word, not at all. It was
Right.
much bigger. It was the rational ordering principle of the entire universe.
The underlying logic.
Yes, the structure behind everything,
Hmm.
the intelligence that governs all the change, the flux Heraclitus is famous for, and that holds opposites together in balance. It's like the universe's own reason.
Okay, that's already a huge leap from just word,
Yeah.
cosmic intelligence.
Absolutely. And the source then points to the Stoics. They took this idea and ran with it. They saw logos as a kind of divine fire or bread, they called it pneuma.
Pneuma.
Yeah, pneuma. Like a divine energy or spirit that literally permeates everything, giving it form and order. A cosmic reason pulsing through existence.
Wow, so it goes from abstract principle to something almost alive, pervading everything.
And then you get this really significant shift in the Christian context, which the source highlights with John 1.1 and 1.14.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God, and the Logos became flesh and dwelt among us.
Mhm.
And the material notes that here, Logos changes again. It's not just the abstract reason or the cosmic breath anymore. It becomes the personal expression of God.
So how God interacts with the world.
Precisely. It's the bridge, how the infinite transcendent God becomes knowable, becomes manifest within our finite world.
God made intelligible, reachable almost.
That's a good way to put it. So the source kind of boils logos down to three key themes: divine reason, the principle of expression and pattern shaping reality, and acting as that crucial bridge between the transcendent and the immanent.
That's quite a journey for one word.
Yeah.
So maybe something for you listening to think about, like, if logos isn't just a word, but this underlying pattern or structure, this divine reason, how does that change how you view the world? Do you start looking for that deeper order?
It definitely shifts your perspective, doesn't it? From seeing just randomness to sensing maybe an underlying coherence.
Okay, now let's jump across the globe. Second concept from the source: Atman. This comes from Hindu philosophy, Advaita Vedanta specifically. Non-dualism. What's Atman?
The material describes Atman as your innermost self. But crucially, it's not your personality, your ego, your thoughts or feelings. Those change. Atman is the deep, unchanging core, the spark of the divine within every being.
The real you underneath it all. And the source stresses this core teaching in Advaita. Atman is ultimately identical with Brahman.
Yes, Brahman being the absolute reality, the ultimate ground of the cosmos. The source brings up that incredibly famous line from the Chandogya Upanishad, that thou art. Tativam asi.
Tativamasi.
And it's not just saying, your soul is a little piece of God. It's saying your true self, your Atman, is Brahman. They aren't separate.
Whoa, okay, that's mind-bending. My deepest self is the ultimate reality of everything. How do we even start to get our heads around that?
Well, the source points out something pretty interesting in the language.
Okay.
The word Atman, it shares a root with the Sanskrit word for breath or soul.
Breath.
Yeah. And this pops up elsewhere too, like our English word spirit. It comes from the Latin spirere, which means to breathe.
Huh. So breath, spirit, soul, the deepest self. There's a connection there.
Exactly. The material emphasizes this because it suggests an embodied understanding. This profound inner self isn't just some abstract idea up in the clouds. It's linked to our most basic, undeniable physical experience, breathing.
Right.
As if the breath itself is a kind of physical echo or reminder of this deeper divine presence within us.
That really connects with other mystical ideas, doesn't it? Like the divine spark in Western traditions, or the source mentions Meister Eckhart talking about the ground of the soul.
That untouchable core within that's somehow connected to the absolute.
Yeah.
So the key themes the source pulls for Atman are the inner self as divine, that radical non-duality, Atman is Brahman, the idea of a witnessing consciousness that just observes everything else, and that powerful link between breath and spirit signaling divine presence.
Okay, so another pause for thought for you listening. What does it really mean if your deepest self, Atman, isn't separate? If it's connected to, well, everything? And could something as simple as paying attention to your breath actually be a way to connect with that?
It shifts the whole search, doesn't it? From looking out there to looking deep in here, but finding the universal right there.
Right. Okay, third concept, shifting traditions again. We're in the Hebrew Bible now, Exodus, Moses, and the burning bush, and this very simple but incredibly powerful phrase, I am.
Yes, Moses asks God's name, right? And the answer is, I am that I am. Or Ahia, Asher Ahia in Hebrew.
Which isn't really a name like we think of names.
Exactly. The material highlights that. It doesn't label God like the creator or the judge. It's a statement of being. God is identifying as existence itself.
Being.
Pure being. And the source notes the Hebrew verb used, hea, has this richness. It implies both static being and dynamic becoming. Presence, but also possibility.
So not a fixed thing, but being itself, alive, self-existent, not depending on anything else.
Utterly unconditioned. Pure presence, but also dynamic. And the source then traces this idea, this divine self-naming, into Christian mysticism, especially Jesus's I am statements, like in John 8:58, before Abraham was, I am.
Okay, and the source is clear. These aren't ego trips.
Right. It's not Jesus saying, look how important I am. The material presents them as disclosures of ontological unity with the source. It's like saying, my being is rooted in, participates in, that same fundamental beingness revealed to Moses.
A claim about the nature of his being, its source.
Yes. So the key themes for I am are self-existence and presence, that sheer fact of being, ontological mystery, the sort of ungraspable nature of ultimate being, and the divine revealed simply as being itself.
It's amazing how simple the words are, I am. We say it all the time. But the source suggests maybe this everyday phrase holds a clue about our own existence, our own presence. What does it mean to just be before all the labels?
It really invites you to contemplate the sheer fact of your own existence right now.
Okay, fourth and final concept. Consciousness. This feels very relevant today, resonates with Eastern paths, non-duality, even some modern philosophy.
Definitely. And here, the source explains consciousness not just as something we possess, like thinking or seeing. It's presented as more fundamental than that. It's the actual ground reality, the field, the space in which everything else appears.
So thoughts, feelings, the world, my sense of self, they all arise within consciousness.
That's the idea. Consciousness isn't produced by the brain or the body. It's the substrate in which the brain and body and everything else manifests. The source mentions the Vedantic term chit, from Sat Chit Ananda being consciousness bliss. Consciousness chit is seen as an inherent quality of ultimate reality, Sat.
Okay. And Buddhist ideas, too.
Yeah, the source mentions traditions like Dzogchen or Zen, where this fundamental consciousness is often described as empty, luminous awareness, like clear, open space prior to any content.
Pure potential awareness.
Right. And the material even briefly touches on modern parallels like panpsychism or idealism, which explore whether consciousness might actually be the fundamental stuff of the universe, not just a weird byproduct of matter.
Fascinating. Consciousness as the fabric of reality itself.
So the key themes the source pulls out for consciousness are awareness as the ground of being, the idea that it's not objective. It's the field of experience, not an object in it, and simply being the field of all experience.
This one feels, well, very immediate. If consciousness isn't just my consciousness, but the field where everything happens, including me,
Mm-hmm.
what does that mean about my own awareness? Am I part of this field? Am I this field?
It certainly challenges that feeling of being a separate, looking out at a separate world, doesn't it? Suggests a much deeper interconnectedness.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, bringing them all together. Logos, Atman, I am, consciousness. The source argues they're not just separate ideas, but they reflect each other, right? Like facets of one diamond.
Yeah, exactly. They give different angles on the same underlying reality. The text uses a really helpful framework, thinking about their gesture, focus, and expression.
Okay, break that down for us.
So logos, it suggests, has an outward gesture. It's focused on form, pattern, structure. Its expression is reason, speech, the order out there, the divine shaping the cosmos.
The external pattern. Got it.
Then Atman has an inward gesture. Focus on the self as source, the divine within. Expression as the inner witness, essence, identity, the divine drawing you in.
The inner reality.
Okay. I am has a centered gesture. Focus on pure being, existence itself, expression as presence, dynamic becoming, grounding you in the center, the here and now.
Being itself right here. Makes sense.
And consciousness has an all-encompassing gesture. Focus on the field of awareness, the boundless space, expression as unconditioned knowing, the divine as the infinite space containing everything.
Wow. Okay, put together, it's like a map. Logos is the structure. Atman is the divine identity within it. I am is the raw presence of being in that structure. And consciousness is the space it all happens in.
Beautifully put. And the source emphasizes this convergence points to a ground of being beyond boundaries. These concepts, from different paths, seem to hint at universal truths that transcend any one dogma. They're doorways, the source calls them, not doctrines.
Doorways. I like that. Inviting you to look through.
Yeah, inviting you to listen for what the source calls that deeper hum beneath all the different traditions. Not blending them superficially, but recognizing they might be sensing aspects of the same core reality.
You hear that hum in the mystics, right?
Sure.
The source mentions Eckhart, Plotinus, Rumi, Shankara.
Exactly. Their insights, though couched in their own traditions, often converge on this experience of non-separation. The source includes some powerful quotes. Eckhart. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me.
Wow.
Or Rumi. I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God.
Beautiful.
And Shankara, summing up Advaita. Brahman is real. The world is illusion. The self is nothing but Brahman.
These aren't just ideas, are they? They sound like reports from somewhere deep.
Reports from direct experience, yeah. Affirming that maybe at the deepest level, the knower, the known, and the knowing can merge into one reality.
Which brings us back to experience. This isn't just abstract philosophy.
No. And the source actually suggests ways these concepts can inform practice. Simple things like pausing to really feel into the phrase I am, or the neti-neti practice from Advaita, not this, not this.
Where you negate everything you aren't.
Exactly. Not the body, not the thoughts, not the feelings, stripping away to see what remains. Or mindfulness practices focusing on awareness itself as the field. Or even just journaling about what I am feels like for you.
So ways to potentially move from just thinking about this stuff to experiencing it.
Kind of like invitations to test it out for yourself.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive. Our source material has walked us through Logos, Atman, I am, and consciousness. 4 distinct concepts, different origins, but seemingly pointing from different angles towards one profound reality, one ground of being.
And the source really stresses that the ultimate point isn't just naming this reality or understanding it intellectually, it's about knowing it, and maybe ultimately becoming it.
Because, as the Upanishads quote in the source says, the self is hidden in the hearts of all.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, something to take away from this exploration directly from the source material. It suggests this ground of being isn't far off. It's described as being here, present, in each breath, each still moment, each act of sincere attention.
Right here, right now.
Yeah. So if that's true, how might just shifting how you pay attention to your breath, to moments of quiet, to your experience right now, how might that begin to reveal this deeper reality? How might understanding these ideas actually change how you experience yourself in the world?
Maybe listen for that deeper hum in your own life.